Sometimes I wonder if my next guest is a phony, and I say that because he's so damned enthusiastic about ETSU that I can somehow, I'm like, is this guy for real? Sometimes he's Scott Carter, athletic director of East Tennessee State, and today there was a big story that came out. There's been a lot of off-season stories that have been some positive news, new broadcasting deal, but 47 student athletes were placed on the spring academic all-conference team, including, and I'll go with some locals here, there's Macy Carrier from Sullivan East, I believe, Bluff City. She had a 4.0 average. She is a track and field athlete and such. So it's something to hang the hat on. I know those are things that athletic directors love to talk about, but you've also got another program coming out for the veterans. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, but now explain this again. If we buy a season ticket to ETSU football this year, a veteran can go up to 6 times on your dime for no extra cost. How does this all work here, Scott Carter?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking about that, Marky, and thank you for the kind compliment about my enthusiasm for my alma mater. And I just said I do love the Bucs. I've always loved them. It's my school, and I'm so thankful to be here and work here. So if I hope that doesn't rub people the wrong way, but I'm very blessed to do what I do here, and thankful to be talking to you today about it. So I appreciate that very much. We are very excited about our salute program, and I think we have, in Upper East Tennessee and in our region, there has always been an extraordinarily strong bond with our country and the people that serve our country. And this was an idea that Matt McGahee and our ticket and external staff had about something we could do to kind of tie everybody in that family together, from our season ticket holders, the people that love ETSU athletics, and certainly our veterans that we would like to honor in every way possible. And what better way to do so than to invite them as part of that family to our contests and to our games. So our season ticket holders actually had the first opportunity to participate in this program during their season ticket renewal. And now we've certainly made that available to the general public and letting them know what this program is. So we do have season tickets that start at $100. So fans, season ticket holders, anybody that would like to participate can purchase that for themselves. But through this program, they can purchase a season ticket or many season tickets if they choose for veterans. And our program, our athletic department is promising and have been working through the years, and particularly right now with different veterans groups, different service organizations that provides for and cares for our veterans. And we feel like we can be a great opportunity to entertain them, show them a wonderful time, and say thank you for your service in the process.
Well, so $100. Now, let me ask you this. $100, can I get on the 50-yard line for $100? I mean, what kind of a seat am I looking for on a season ticket basis there for ETSU?
Yeah, the $100 option is where our season tickets start at. And as you're familiar with Green Stadium, obviously the two primary seating areas are on the sidelines there. We do have the grass berm there to the north horseshoe of the end zone. But these season tickets would be between the goal line and the 20-yard line. So they are sideline tickets. They're very nice tickets. The tickets, as you mentioned, that might get closer to the 50 do go up in price a little bit. And certainly any of those available would be part of the salute program if someone wanted to do that. But we reference for the simplicity and the ease of the understanding for this program that the tickets do start at $100. And for as little as that amount, that someone could participate.
What are the 50-yard line seats, though? Because people like good seats. So what are the? Yeah.
Well, I just kind of give you the range of our tickets. So these $100 options are what we call our bronze level. The next level up is silver, and it's $250, and that goes from about the 20-yard line to the 40-yard line, and then at the 50, at the two different, the east and west perspectives. On the east side of the stadium, we have a gold option, which is $400 for the season, and then a midfield seat option, which is the chairbacks. As soon as you come inside the Bank of Tennessee arch there, that entrance, and you come into the Green Stadium, there's it's about 7 or 8 rows of chairback seating on the east side, right at the 50-yard line, and then the complement of those seats on the west side, just down from the Ramsey Tower, are about 560 of our club level seats, and those are a higher ticketed item. They do require a capital gift to the athletics department and carry a $750 annual season ticket purchase requirement, but they get you access to the club room, private hospitality area there in the lower level of the tower. So we've got multiple season ticket options, and we wanted to do it that way so that we can connect with whoever the constituent, the supporter might be. If someone's very, very blessed financially and would like to contribute, we've got a place for you. If it's someone that's looking to bring their entire family together and they're working off of a budget, I think we can all appreciate that. We want to have something available for you at $100 to watch Division I football in a great and beautiful venue.
Okay. Now, one thing here, and you know me, is that you've mentioned the, I guess, official sellout name of the new football stadium, but on this show, Tri-City Sports Now, I call the ETSU football stadium the stadium that should be named after John Robert Bell. I mean, you know how I feel about that, Scott Carter. You mentioned here on the show recently that you did want to do something to honor John Robert Bell. What is it? When are we going to find out about this?
Well, you know, I'll mention Coach Bell with some other wonderful people that I think are near and dear to the athletic department and the entire athletic department and the football program. You know, I've been thinking through, and I won't go too specific into that, Marky, because I want to make sure that when we do something, we do it right and it's fully developed. But I think John Robert Bell and some of our other coaches, Star Wood of that era, you know, we've talked about some different ways of how we could honor them within our football program, whether that be an office area, head coach's office, meeting room space, something like that. You know, the 1969 team, obviously a phenomenal team that beat Terry Bradshaw in the Grantland Rice Bowl. It's just a much beloved era of ETSU athletics. You know, that's a team that we look forward to honoring. They're actually going to celebrate their 50th anniversary of that wonderful season next fall. So we're working towards some fun things from a reunion and celebration of that 50th anniversary for that. And then, you know, some other wonderful people like Jerry Robertson and others that have been so important to the history of ETSU football. The list will go on and on. I would miss things, but there's a lot of that right now in the thought process and the development process. And, you know, again, I'm not trying to play cool with you, but I don't want to say too much and not deliver upon it. But I think there's a right way and a classy way anytime we venture to do those things. But they are important because they're part of our history, they're part of our heritage, and we better celebrate it because if we don't, nobody's going to.
Now, I know Bell does have a street named on campus. So does Jack Vest, former quarterback, who was the referee of Super Bowl II, of other thing, which had a heavy ETSU presence in it, by the way. But anyhow, I just wanted to point out there is something that, but again, Bell to me meant so much to so many people. I think he's probably the most beloved figure in certainly football, but if not in all of sports, in the history of the Tri-Cities, that you want more than just a street. And the influence, I mean, very influential in building the mini dome, coached the women's basketball team for a season even. Talking to Scott Carter, who is the athletic director at ETSU. But I saw an ad on LinkedIn. You guys are looking for a new assistant athletic director. Is that the truth?
Well, I think the position you may be referring to is assistant to the athletic director.
Yes,
yes, sir. Yeah, there's an assistant to the athletic director position. It's going to be in charge of some external initiatives and special projects that we have. That position is open right now. I think closes later this week. Hope to have someone in place for that the early part of August.
Okay, well, so what does an assistant to the AD, you mentioned that, but what are you looking for? I mean, heck, let's have some I know you put it up on LinkedIn, but if somebody was thinking, I'd like a job in athletics, what are you looking for that?
Sure, well, in this particular role, it would be someone that would work very, very closely with me on a daily basis, someone that would be highly involved in a lot of the intricate details, a lot of the meetings, a lot of different things, representation that's needed on campus, and in some ways it can allow me to be two places at once if need be, to keep some scheduled meetings on schedule and not have to delay or postpone them. But give this person some direct interaction with and energy towards some of our initiatives moving forward, whether they be different contracts and bid processes, business components that we work toward externally. I'd like this person to be someone that would work closely with our external team and development and fundraising and ticket sales and marketing of the program. I know we're going to talk in a moment about our partner Van Wagner Sports Entertainment.
Yes, yeah.
So a lot of intricate details on the internal side, but particularly on the external side as well. There's some things as I've been blessed to move over from what my position was a couple of years ago to the AD's position. There's just some things there that I feel like we've not really replaced that particular position. So that's not really exactly what this is, but to some degree it would be helping to pick up a little bit of the slack that was voided there. And so we're looking to have a nice contributor to the team and looking forward to getting through that process here over the next few weeks.
A lot of times when you look for something like that, it's a former athletic notable. You know, you spend, if I can be two places at the same time, you know, if you're going to have two groups that you speak to, you know, you want somebody that the people know. So is it a prerequisite in this assistant to the AD position that it be someone that ETSU fans would already know?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I think someone's familiar with and respects and cares for our program. That's always a plus in my mind because, I mean, kind of back to the original part of our conversation, that's kind of what I am. Love the place, care about the place, want to speak well of the place always. So, you know, those are certainly attributes that I appreciate and would certainly love to have. But I don't think it's a prerequisite. I would love to have just the best fit, quality person for this role. And it's to some degree a new role. It's a role that Matt McGahee on our staff, that's now our Associate Athletic Director for External Operations, held in a capacity prior to my arrival here, working for Dr. Sander. And so we've kind of taken that job description from a few years ago and dusted it off and made a few adjustments. But no, we're looking for the best person for the job.
All right, we're talking to Scott Carter, the athletic director at ETSU. I know a lot of scheduling that you've done. I mean, UT is playing ETSU this football season. Future years, there'll be games. The Appalachian State rivalry will be renewed. Georgia, Vanderbilt, North Carolina, I believe, also will be on future football schedules. But, you know, Steve Forbes is talking about, boy, is it really difficult for me to schedule basketball games. Let me ask you, what's the athletic philosophy on 2-for-1s? You know, with programs, more prestigious conferences in the SoCon, but, you know, a 2-for-1 with a, say, major college basketball program. What's the athletic philosophy there?
Well, I think there's a time and a place for everything. I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, Steve, there's no secret. I think he is, you know, very, very excited about what he's built here and what we have here at ETSU now. Formidable is probably not even the word anymore. We're a very strong program, very, very proud program, and I think people have recognized that. And the better you get, it's kind of the slippery slope. It's the catch-22. The better you get, the more challenging it is sometimes to find that opponent. So, you know, I think those 2-for-1s or other scenarios that present chances to fill your schedule. And, you know, 2-for-1, when you think about it, how difficult it is to fill out a schedule, that's 3 years. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at not just a 1-year conversation or even a 2-year conversation with a home and home. You're looking at 3 years of competitive back and forth. But you know, if it's the right opponent, the right geographic location, the right draw for the fans, you know, there's a lot of factors that go into that. But if you can find the right one, a 2-for-1 sometimes makes great sense because, you know, ultimately you can almost hit 3 home runs with one conversation.
Well, I know that I personally don't like, for the same reason I don't like the Tri-Cities to take a back seat to Knoxville. I know sometimes I always feel, I never like the idea of calling ETSU little brother to Tennessee, even though I know you also work, Scott Carter, in the Tennessee Athletic Department. But, you know, Tennessee was a big game in 2016 when they came to the Tri-Cities. It was the first time in 53 years. And my feeling was, you know, it shouldn't be once every 53 years that the big state school comes and plays in the Tri-Cities. And so I want to, you've got ties at Tennessee. Steve Forbes used to be the assistant coach there. I know it takes 2 to tango, but have you reached out to the Vols and said, hey, what about this? 2-for-1, this helps improve your brand here in the Tri-Cities. Has that been anything you've discussed?
Well, I have, and you know, not necessarily to the specifics of the business dynamic of a 2-for-1 or a 1-for-1 or a money game or this and that, but Coach Fulmer is a very good friend of mine, and obviously we worked together at Tennessee, we worked together here when he was a consultant surrounding our football program, and we sustained a quality friendship. Saw him just a few weeks ago, actually, up here in Elizabethton. But I went down and saw Coach a couple months ago, and in essence, it's kind of funny. We spent about an hour and 45 minutes, almost 2 hours together, Marky, and an hour and a half of it we just spent catching up as friends, talking about family and life and what was going on. And before I had to move on and go to my next appointment, he to his, I said, well, Coach, you know, I really came down here to pick a fight with you in everything we play. And I kind of told him, you know, if we play pickup sticks or we're playing chess or checkers, let's play. And I think Coach agrees with that. You know, we didn't get into the specifics of, you know, when are we going to play in men's basketball again and when are we going to play in football again after this year. But he knows that there's a strong interest to do that in every sport that we have, from me ETSU, from all of our athletic programs. So we're going to continue to work to do that. I think it's a natural rivalry. We are their closest Division I opponent, about 5 to 10 minutes closer than Chattanooga is. They are the quickest Division I opponent for us in every sport other than Asheville and Appalachian State, which is, of course, a little bit shorter in mileage, but a little bit longer because of the curvy roads by beautiful Watauga Lake. But because Fulmer knows we want to play, I think he appreciates coming up here and playing us as well. So we're going to continue to work on that in every sport that we have.
Do you think by any chance it would be easier to draw, let's say, major opponents for ETSU? And you've played them in the past historically. Wake Forest, Michigan State. They've come to Tennessee, but they've generally come, NC State, to the mini dome. If you punch two holes out on the one side of the yard that you need to, and you could fill up the place again with a 12,000 seat arena, you could do that. Would that at all help attract a major opponent to come to Johnson City for basketball?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think really when you boil it down to it, in some ways the argument it can maybe hurt you, because you've got more of your fans in there screaming and creating a louder environment. I will say this: I think the environments that we have in Freedom Hall and for the men and Brooks Gym for the women, and certainly Green Stadium for football. But when we're talking about basketball here, those two environments are strong. We've got incredible home court advantage for both men's and women's basketball, and what Steve and Brittany have built. It's really not something I think people look forward to coming to Johnson City for, because they know they're going to be in a dogfight, and they know they're going to be fortunate to walk out of here with a win, no matter what level of program they're coming in. If they're a Southern Conference opponent, or if it's a Duke, North Carolina, Michigan State, Tennessee, you name it. And so I think the more hostile the environment that you have, it may actually work against you. The same way the more prestigious the program that you built works against you, because nobody wants to come somewhere where their fan base is expecting a win and they walk away with a loss. So, those are the things that it's a good problem to have, Marky. I would say that. I would much rather be having this conversation with you about difficult scheduling because of our wins and our ability to be an incredibly formidable opponent. But it's a challenge nonetheless.
Well, I would just point out, and I understand the, 6,000, cozy gym, all that, but I remember when Ed DeChillis, I think, won 23 straight games at the Mini Dome in another era, too. So, I mean, that was also a tough place to play at one time. And the other thing is, I know a lot of businesses around ETSU have sort of lamented the loss of business that they received from moving games from the Dome. Anyway, I want to talk about something along those lines, though. I want to talk to you about soccer. The Tri-Cities Otters. I have had Michael Ballett, their owner, on the show, and he'd like to build a yard for his soccer team on the old Buffalo Valley Golf Course. He's made that publicly known, but he also told me that he contacted you about Summers Taylor, and it wasn't available to the Otters. Why is that? It would seem to me that having that team would help soccer grow and your own program grow if they played on a real soccer field. Why haven't the Otters been allowed to use Summers Taylor?
Well, I'm trying to think of the exact conversation you may be talking about. I don't know that I've had a conversation with this gentleman in recent history. It may have been a year ago or something like that. I mean, I'd certainly be very willing to talking with him about their interest now and in the future, and certainly make sure. I think he's probably been able to meet David Casper, our new men's soccer coach, and probably very familiar with Adam Sayers. So I'd love to talk with him now and talk about the future. That's outstanding and great. I remember vaguely one. It's been well over a year, though, Marky, I think, since I've entertained that. And if I'm incorrect, I'll apologize to the gentleman. But if you want to pass along my phone number to him,
Okay, I can do that here. All right, now, any decision Southern Conference football games, if they're going to be televised to ESPN3, ESPN Plus, or is it, like we keep hearing, officially going to be a game-per-game basis? Has there been any official clarification?
There has not, but that's actually one of the things I anticipate. I'm on a conference call here in about 30 or 40 minutes. Once a month we have an AD's conference call in the Southern Conference. And I anticipate that's going to be one of the discussions that we continue to have. We had it at length in our meetings down in Hilton Head at the end of May, just after Memorial Day. What I anticipate, you described it pretty well. I think there's going to be, to some degree, an a la carte dynamic that's going to ebb and flow a little bit. But I do think we will have some type of built-out later this month. I think when we left our meetings middle to late July at the latest, we were expecting some type of plan, some type of programming schedule from ESPN3. So looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that today from the commissioner and I know the other ADs around the league. When we get into the fall, when we get into all the fall sports, I think that's going to be it. It was a slight adjustment, I think, the very conclusion of our spring sports calendar, but I think this fall it's going to be obviously different with ESPN Plus now being in the fold of the different ESPN varieties of entertainment.
Well, I had Jay Santos on recently to talk about the $15 million agreement with Van Wagner Entertainment, but I do, you've got $15 million, 10 years, something of a professionally great. But what will Van Wagner do for you on your broadcast for the next 10 years?
Well, it's interesting. My hope is that from a broadcast perspective, from a game day experience perspective, from all the consumables that our fans and alumni and everybody that consumes ETSU athletics, my hope is that nothing changes for them, and if it changes, it simply gets enhanced. We feel like we've been doing a great job, and the feedback we've gotten from folks is that the game day experience has been incredible fun. The traditions that we're enjoying and continuing to push forward with and grow and build upon are great. We don't want any of that to change. It's really a business agreement with Van Wagner. They are taking over the sellable inventory that the athletics department has, the different places that brands can be placed, whether they be at video boards, digital boards, the different broadcasts that we have in the way of commercials, obviously, or different types of sponsorships during the games, whether it be the replays and the kiss cams and the different timeout breaks that we might have, or the halftime entertainments, game sponsors of the game, all those types of things that go into it that are revenue producers. They're going to be our business partner in all of that. But as it relates for broadcasting execution and game day flow and basically the running of our show, the script that we follow for the fans, for the teams, for everybody's enjoyment, all of that will remain the same. We simply want to partner with them to leverage every asset that we have, maximize our business solutions, much like a lot of our peers and programs in different conferences like the SEC, ACC, Big 12 have been doing for years. This is just it's a new step for us, and I feel like it's a very, very positive step into the future. Well,
with this, I know a lot of people are talking about colleges making their own broadcasting deals. And in some ways you've done this already with Van Wagner, but you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you're going on to this conference to say, okay, are we on ESPN3 or ESPN Plus for our football? That's, a Southern Conference agreement. Could you see in 10 years ETSU making their own broadcast deal? I mean, a lot of people talk about the Tennessees and the major colleges doing that in the next decade. Do you think 2028 ETSU might be doing that?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I don't think you never say never about anything. I mean, I think to a degree what you're describing is the Longhorn Network, which is what Texas created, and maybe even to a degree prior to that for many years what Notre Dame had with NBC, which was at the time of its origination probably the first type of situation like that was unprecedented. But I think by and large, at least over the last probably 15 to 20 years, the strength that has been seen in numbers in the way of conferences sticking together, leveraging their assets at those types of broadcast levels with deals with either ESPN or CBS or what have you, has given the greatest strength. Now, nothing shifts strength like changes and factors in the market. And, we're no different. We felt like that from this Van Wagner perspective and the way of leveraging our inventory and maximizing all of our assets, we had built our brand from a business perspective and a growth in our portfolio over the course of the last 3 to 4 years about as far as we were going to be able to take it in its existing format, and it made sense to put it out there for bid for national firms like Van Wagner, Sports Entertainment, and others to take a look at. And I think I made the comment one day is we don't have to sell the house, but let's put the house on the market and see if we can get an offer that we can't refuse, and we feel like that's what we were able to obtain with Van Wagner.
Yeah, $15 million, 1.5, that's not a bad deal right there. Okay, last question for you. Let's say ETSU does stuns Tennessee, beats them on the gridiron. After all, the Vols are coming off 4-8 year and a lot of new faces, right? Okay, now then, how do you keep the Vols from taking Randy Sanders from you then? Because you know every Tennessee fan is going to be talking about that. If that happens, all right, it's a best case scenario, but how do you keep if you beat Tennessee, how do you keep Randy Sanders?
You know, what a great problem to have if that could be the case. And I can tell you, you know, we go in every game, no matter what game it is, with the expectation of winning. And you know, Coach Sanders is going to go down there with.
Well, what team doesn't? But yeah.
They're going to go down there with that mindset, no doubt about it. I would tell you this: that would be an upset for the ages, and whether it be Tennessee or somebody else, obviously Coach Sanders would, in only his second game as a Buck, would be making some pretty significant noise, and it would shock this state, I think, in a manner that would really be historic in a lot of ways. But it's going to be a great game. Obviously, it's going to be a great return for Coach to his alma mater, and a place he's not been back to in a little while. And then, obviously, it's going to be a first time for a lot of Tennessee fans down there with their new coach as well. So you've got a lot of firsts kind of going on, starting to the season. And you know, what I think is really neat about this, Marky, is the first time. You think about this. We're talking about 100 miles away, the closest Division I opponent. This is the first time in the history of football that these two schools have ever played.
Yeah, I know. I remember once, first time I interviewed Johnny Major, said, "Do you ever consider this?" He said, "No, not really." You know. No. All right, 1987, ETSU. They defeated the defending ACC champion, I believe, NC State Wolfpack, 29-17 at Carter Finley, and Billy Taylor, I think, was in that game. So yeah, so there is a bit of precedence there, and ETSU wasn't a great team that year. They were 5-6. I think they lost to VMI the next week. Got a little cocky. It's Scott Carter. He's the athletic director of East Tennessee State, and he's been on Tri-City Sports Now. All right. Thank you very much.